she said. My tarot reader saw betrayal in our future. So I smiled, kissed her goodnight, then exposed her affair to her entire spiritual circle with a thank you note to her psychic. I'm Julian, 31, and until recently, I was in a nearly 4-year relationship with Elena, 29. We weren't just dating. We lived together in a 2-bedroom apartment in Portland, co-parented a spirited rescue dog named Maple, and had spent countless evenings narrowing down potential baby names. We had names picked out for both a boy and a girl. That's how far we were into planning our future. Elena was smart, independent, and honestly, a little quirky in the best way. When she first got into tarot readings, I didn't think much of it. We'd watch those late-night YouTube card spreads together, laugh at how eerily accurate they sometimes seemed, and chalk it up to harmless fun. But slowly, the novelty turned into something else. First, she found this spiritual mentor online, Mariah, who claimed she could channel divine feminine energy from ancient Atlantis. That part still makes me raise an eyebrow. Anyway, Mariah ran these intensive $600 per month mentorship programs, complete with weekly Zoom calls and energy cleansing rituals. Elena signed up immediately. It didn't stop at mentorship. Soon, Elena refused to make decisions, any decisions, without pulling a few cards first or texting Mariah. At dinner, she'd pause and say something like, "Let me check if this is aligned with the energy of the day. A weekend getaway? Hold on, I need to ask the guides." I admit, it was frustrating. But I loved her, so I tried not to push. I figured it was just a phase. Everyone goes through things, right? Then one Friday, everything shifted. She came home from her weekly alignment session, quiet, more serious than usual. No kiss, no how was your day. She sat down at the kitchen counter and just stared at her hands for a while. "I need to tell you something," she finally said. I sat down across from her. "Mariah pulled cards for us today. The Tower and the Ten of Swords. She says there's betrayal coming in our future." I blinked. Betrayal? From who? She didn't say. Just that my intuition knows, and I need to listen to it. Maybe we should pause everything before it happens. It hit me sideways. Not because I was worried about cheating. I'd never even thought of stepping out, but because of how serious she looked. It felt like I was watching her follow a script someone else wrote. But I didn't get angry. I took a breath, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Well, if betrayal is destined, better to avoid resisting fate." She looked relieved, like I'd just saved her from a difficult argument. She probably expected tears or yelling, maybe even begging. Instead, I gave her a kiss on the forehead and said, "I trust your path." She went to bed early that night, claiming she needed rest to process the energetic shift. I sat on the couch for a long while, staring at the blank TV screen. Something didn't sit right. The whole thing felt less like a spiritual warning and more like a setup. So while she slept, I opened my laptop. I knew Mariah had a business page that Elena and some of her friends followed. I composed a message. "Dear Mariah, your insight spared me heartbreak. I appreciate the warning signs about potential betrayal. You were right. There was energy I needed to see. Please accept this $800 donation for your spiritual efforts. I've also left a glowing review on your page. Namaste, Julian." I tagged Mariah publicly in a private online group where I knew Elena's spiritual circle hung out. It wasn't petty, it was preemptive. Because if betrayal was on the horizon, I was going to be ready. The next morning, Elena acted like nothing had changed. She made coffee, fed Maple, and even asked if I wanted to go to the farmer's market later. I played along, smiled, nodded, but I'd already taken my first step into her spiritual world, just not in the way she expected. While she was showering, I logged into our shared cloud account. We had it set up to back up our phones, photos, files, and yes, messages. She probably forgot about that. Or maybe she assumed I'd never look. The name Ben came up more than I expected. A lot more. At first, I thought maybe he was another spiritual coach or someone from her group sessions. But the tone of the messages was intimate. Not necessarily sexual, at least not in the texts, but emotional. One message read, "Julian has no idea, but I feel like the universe is finally aligning us." Another said, "When I'm around you, I feel like I'm stepping into my true feminine self." I think Mariah is right. Our souls have known each other in past lives. There were voice notes too. In one, she whispered, "We're not doing anything wrong, just becoming who we're meant to be." Apparently, Ben was an energy healer she met at one of Mariah's weekend retreats up in Bend. They'd been texting for months, but things had intensified recently. Mariah had even encouraged their connection, calling it a karmic invitation and divine masculine alignment. So no, the betrayal wasn't coming. It was already happening, just hidden under layers of incense and spiritual jargon. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Mostly, I just sat there staring at the screen, trying to reconcile the woman I thought I knew with the one who was plotting a soft exit, guided by someone she paid $600 a month. She was planning a full, conscious separation from me, her words, not mine. Her plan, from what I gathered, was to ease me out gently over the next few weeks as Ben moved into town. Apparently, he was relocating for better vibrational flow, which sounded like code for moving in on my relationship. I closed the laptop and stared out the window for a while. I didn't feel rage or heartbreak. Not yet. Just this slow realization that someone I loved was carefully engineering my exit. Not with malice, but with some kind of spiritual permission slip. Later that day, I sat across from her at the kitchen table. She smiled like everything was fine. "How are you feeling today?" she asked. "Light," I replied. "Like the universe is helping me let go." She smiled. Probably thought I was finally coming around. That night, I sent another email, this time to Ben, and I CC'd his yoga studio's contact page. "Thanks for guiding Elena through her transformation. Your bond clearly transcends timelines. Best wishes in your journey together. Hope the universe is kinder to you than it was to me." No insults. No threats. Just the truth. Presented calmly, the way they liked to pretend they lived. By the next morning, things had changed. Elena found the email. I saw her standing in the hallway, phone in hand, jaw tight. "You're invading my spiritual privacy," she said flatly. I looked up from my cereal and said, "No, I'm just acting on divine intuition. Mariah said betrayal was coming, right? I just gave you the freedom to fulfill the prophecy." She didn't speak, just turned and walked out. And just like that, the spiritual veil started to fall. After the Ben email, I didn't push for a confrontation. I didn't need one. Elena tried to carry on like things could still be salvaged, like we could just talk this through. But I had already stepped out, mentally and emotionally. I began quietly moving my essentials out: documents, laptop, some clothes. I canceled our joint mortgage application and notified our realtor. I even let the dog sitter know that Maple would be full-time with Elena from now on. No dramatic exit. Just a clean, calculated disengagement. The next evening, she finally broke the silence. "I don't think this has to end ugly," she said, sitting on the couch, clutching one of her oracle decks like it might give her the right words. I nodded. "It's not ending ugly. It's just ending." Her face dropped. "Julian, Ben was just someone I felt a deep spiritual connection with. That doesn't mean I don't love you." I didn't even respond to that. Instead, I calmly asked, "Was Mariah guiding you through a breakup ritual? You called it relationship death and rebirth, right?" Her eyes widened. She knew I'd read the messages. That was just an idea. Nothing was certain. I stood up and started packing my last bag. "Well, you don't have to wonder anymore." The tower came. Everything's collapsing as it was meant to. And it did. Fast. By the weekend, I was gone. I blocked her number. Left a short message letting her know she'd be getting a notice about the lease transfer. I even left Maple's favorite toys and food in a labeled box by the door. One last message, though, because I couldn't help myself. "You were right to trust the cards. The tower always brings necessary endings." Weeks passed. I stayed with a friend for a while, then eventually moved into a new place across the river. I kept quiet, but screenshots have a funny way of moving through private groups. A mutual friend sent me a post from Mariah's Instagram. It was a cryptic note about client betrayal and energetic backlash. The kind of post meant to feel mysterious, but was clearly pointed. Then I started hearing whispers. Elena had stopped attending Mariah's events. Ben hadn't moved to town after all. Some say she tried to cut ties with both of them, saying that energy was tainted. Others say her spiritual circle turned cold once they saw the messages. People started asking questions Mariah couldn't answer without exposing her part in it. In the end, Elena wasn't betrayed by fate. She was exposed by her own decisions. As for me, I didn't look back. A few months later, I met someone new, Aisha. She's a nurse, grounded, present, and thankfully doesn't need a deck of cards to tell her how she feels about someone. One night, over dinner, I told her the whole story. She didn't laugh. She just raised an eyebrow and said, "So, they turned cheating into a spiritual awakening?" Exactly. Look, I'm not anti-spirituality. Believe whatever helps you grow. But some people don't want growth. They want permission. Permission to lie, to cheat, to rewrite reality so they can feel enlightened while hurting someone who trusted them. But not me. I learned to trust something more solid, my own instinct. Because sometimes, when the red flags start waving, you don't need a tarot spread to know it's time to walk away.